Hi, and welcome to the Dingers Podcast, episode 46. This is your host, Mitch. I'm here with my boys, Jeff and Kevin. How are you guys tonight?
I'm doing pretty good. How are the two of you? Kevin, we've been missing you at the gym lately.
I
Please
know
explain yourself.
it has been a busy one. Unfortunately, this week I'm not going to be there because my wife is out of town, so I have the boys in the morning. Last week was I don't remember. I had something else going on and I missed a couple of days.
You were just lazy. Anyway, it sounds like your wife's female trip is leverage for a boys trip.
Oh,
Yep.
perhaps.
And it's convenient, like you brought up, that she took a trip the day after Father's Day. That is something you can hold on and use against her for a very long time.
Yep.
So,
And all those folks at home who happen to know my wife know that is not going to work at all. So
I don't think you really know how to use stuff.
yeah,
Come over and show you.
Hey, Jeff. Who else lives at your house?
Hey, I do what I want when I want to do it. I am living the dream.
Two sides to the same coin, huh?
well, this podcast episode is presented to you by Shy City Sports. If you're interested in all things Chicago sports, this is your place. Go check out the forums, all the great podcasts. You can listen to our podcasts on there. There's a great Bears podcast, a White Sox podcast. So if you're a South Sider loving the Sox and then being in first place, you can listen to those guys. But yeah, check out Shy City Sports, and they have a great merch store. So a lot of t-shirts. There's some sweet Dinger shirts on there. So go check that out. But let's crack our beer. We're gonna start a thing that's crack our beers to the player of the week. Okay, Jeff, do you have a beer?
I'll be right back. God damn it!
All right. So I'm gonna crack my beer to Patrick Wisdom. Yesterday is gonna be my go-to. His 14 pitch at bat yesterday was beautiful and ending in a hit. Kind of sparked the Cubs offense yesterday and getting the win. So he's gonna crack the beer player of the week for myself. What about you, Kevin?
I'd have to say mine is, I think it's Jock, because he's the one who got me to tie it up with you in the Dinger Challenge and to get me the lead. So I'm going to have to go with Jock on that one. And I know that you wanted to pick him, but I picked him first, so double thumbs up there.
Who's your crack the beer player of the week? There, Jeffrey?
Oh, Christ. Boys, get down to the real nitty gritty. Who did you pick, Mitch?
I picked Patrick Wisdom.
Yep, mine was Jock.
This is just like the Dinger Challenge. I'm picking last. There's just scraps.
It can be the same player.
Yeah, it can be the same player.
Oh. All right. Well, I'm gonna go with Wisdom because he was our only offense in New York for the 3 games we lost. I do like Jock. He did hit that 2-run dinger the other night. Yeah. I'm going to go with our entire bullpen.
There we go. Like it. Our bullpen. All right. Well, Kevin, you want to give us a little bit of a weekend review?
Yeah, it's been a rough one, folks. But we knew this going into June. Just kind of as a reminder for everyone, the baseline goal was to go 500 this month.
Yes,
we have right.
Beginning of June, we said 500.
Yep, and we got off to a hot start, and I think we set our sights really high, and we forgot that they have to play a lot of really good teams really close together and back and forth from the coasts. The Mets series
and coming off of a really good May, like I think we played so well in May.
It's best team in baseball in May.
And so it's tough when we go into June and do have to face quality teams and some really good pitching.
Yep.
And with a piece together lineup due to an entire charcuterie board of injuries.
Yep.
It's true. But just to recap, the Mets series, we went 1-3, didn't get swept. Marlins series went 1-2, didn't get swept. And you know what? The Cubs have not been swept in a 3-game or more series this year. And in fact, outside of the 2-game set kind of earlier this season, they have not been swept in a 3-game set series in the last 2 years.
Wow.
And I think somebody tweeted out, or I saw this stat, that the Cubs are the only NL playoff contender not to be swept in a 3 or 4-game series yet this year.
I think they're the only NL team
Yeah, that
to
could
not be swept at all. In the 2 games that they did get beat were against these Cleveland Indians that they're playing tonight.
Right. And it's always hard with a 2-game set. Do you count this as a sweep? Anyway.
And did you know that during David Ross's tenure with the Cubs, he has never been swept in a 3-game series as a coach?
That's pretty cool.
I would say he did get swept by the Marlins in the playoffs, but that was still only 2 games. So in a 3-game or more, he has never been swept.
Right.
He knows how to rally the troops, the guys together to say, hey, we're not going to lose 3 in a row.
Right. Something else folks may have or may not have noticed this weekend was that it was Father's Day on Sunday, yesterday. And I have a soft spot in my heart for dad jokes. It's kind of a big deal. I say them in my classroom every day. The students love them. They put up with it. But the Cubs did something pretty funny. They mic'd up the sheriff, a.k.a. Chafin. And he went around yesterday before the game and told bad dad jokes to the other players, and they told them to him. It was pretty funny. Here are some of my all-time favorites. So, Jeff, you ready? Why do pancakes always win at baseball?
Because they have the best batter.
Well done. Well done.
He knows that one.
Yo, did you hear the joke about the pop fly? Oh, forget it. It's way over your head. Here's another one for Jeff. Why do fathers take an extra pair of socks when they go golfing?
Ooh, you're a good golfer. Big golfer.
I don't know.
In case they get a hole in one.
Ooh.
Funny.
Which position is the best water boy?
The pitcher.
Well done. Why does a pitcher raise one leg before throwing the ball?
Because he picked up both, he'd fall over.
Bingo. Yes, I love it. I love that Jeff can guess them. More of these are going to happen.
Yep.
So that was kind of my recap. What did you guys kind of notice from this week?
I noticed the struggles that we had at the plate in April kind of reemerge when we faced quality pitching, because the lineup is so decimated. Our contact hitters are not in the lineup. We've got a lot of young players who kind of shine there a little bit in May, but you saw the batters were kind of reverting back to chasing bad pitches, not really being patient at the plate, and making a pitcher pitch to them. We kind of lived and died off the dinger. We weren't manufacturing a lot of runs. But, I mean, to go, that teeth of that first part of this road trip or whatever, where we faced all these good teams, I think at one point we were, 9-5? So, I mean, That's not terrible. So.
Totally agree. Mitch?
Yeah. Mine, those are the same things. Like, earlier in the season, we swept the Mets. 3-game series, we swept them. Felt really good. I felt like we played really well in that series, and that was the series that the Cubs started changing who they were from early April with all the struggles, and that was when Ross inserted Duffy into the lineup. Was that series, and we saw some great approaches at the plate. Just the whole dynamic of the Cubs offense changed in that series, and then we kind of took off after that. And now here we are, month and a half later, and we're playing these Mets again, and our lineup is back to the way it was in April, where there's a lot of guys that have the same approach. Jock hits a lot of dingers. He has been putting the ball in play, but then when you get Bryant, he's been really struggling lately. You have Rizzo, who has been kind of struggling. He's been hitting a lot of dingers. Javi's just like all these guys who are just relying on the dinger to be able to provide offense, and they can't put together and string hits together. And that was the same thing that was happening in early April. And so it's just the hit mix is kind of the same. They're the same character batters that go up there over and over when we look at this lineup. And then you throw in like Sogard batting fifth yesterday. And I get why he's batting fifth, because they need somebody in that order that does something different in contact. But Sogard's not the guy that we want in there. And so, like, I get Ross is trying to find some guys like, hey, we need some guys in the middle of the lineup to break all these strikeouts up. We need some contact guys. Let's throw Sogard or let's throw somebody in there. And it's just not working right now. We need our guys back. I personally would love to see Marisnick time. We've been throwing Hayward and Happ out there. Happ's batting 183 on the year. He has an OPS of like 602. That's pathetic at this point. Like, come on. Like, Happ needs to start figuring out. He did hit a ball yesterday right-handed really well, but it's like this lineup is just, it's struggling because the identity of it is the exact same, and we need to kind of change it up by getting some guys healthy. Horner and Duffy, which Horner we will be getting back here soon. Duffy, it looks like it's going to be a little bit longer.
Right. So we're missing somebody. We were going to have somebody on, and there's a story there.
Yes. So we were going to have Michael Bowling. He is the on-air social media host and host for Marquee Sports Network. We were going to have him on. We were excited. He was excited to be able to join us. And we got a message this morning, or I did, that his plane was delayed in Houston. He was in Houston for the weekend for, I think, a bachelor party or something. I don't know. But delayed. And so he couldn't make it back. And so we're missing him tonight. So that stinks. We would have asked a lot of these questions to him, and we were really looking forward to his answers to all of these.
Yeah, I'm kind of perturbed about it. First, that city steals a World Series by cheating, and now they hold our guests against his will in that fucking airport.
Yeah.
Bullshit.
Yeah. So,
and I bet the Cardinals get a compensatory pick over this shit too.
Yep, probably.
That's accurate. Yep.
So he said he would hit us up another time. So hopefully we can get him on in the next couple of weeks. But yeah,
can't wait to meet the guy.
We miss him. Yeah.
He's got a fantastic Twitter account.
He does.
He's pretty funny. So I guess I'll throw out the questions. We can go through them. In the month of June, and really on display in New York, and the first game versus Miami, we saw this team fall back into their homer happy and living and dying by the dinger. And we got away from that next, it's not called train, where it's you just bat to get the next guy in. What's that?
Next guy in approach.
Yep, the next guy in. What do you think has changed?
I think a lot of it is, well, it's my own opinion, but there's so many young guys in there and people are scuffling that I think people are just forcing it at the plate. Like, they're trying to be, all right, I'm going to give us a shot in the arm and I'm going to put one over the wall and then I'm going to try to run the bases and everything's going to be fine. But it's not fine because they strike out and look terrible.
I think that it's kind of what we were talking about earlier. The injuries of Nico and Duffy are really finally kind of showing how big of an impact they were making in the lineup. And even when we were hot there towards the end of May and into the beginning of June, even the series against the Cardinals, we hit a lot of dingers that series.
Oh, yeah.
And scored a lot of runs off the dinger. Jock was hitting them. Contreras. Even the game that I went to, there was 3 dingers in that game. Like, there was 3 dingers in the next game against the Cardinals. And so even then, we were living and dying by the home run. We were just living at that point. Where before, in the month of May, we were manufacturing a lot of runs. Guys were getting on base. There was a lot of guys on base. We were moving guys over. There was a lot of balls in play. And you just aren't seeing that lately. And so I think that is the big thing that's changed. And it kind of takes some pressure off the other guys in the lineup when they aren't reliant on trying to hit a home run to score runs. Because there's guys on base, they can move runners over, they can do the small things and have to worry about trying to drive the ball in the gaps. Like, if a guy's on second and there's one out, it's like, okay, I just need to move him over to third. They're thinking that rather than, no, I need to launch this ball. I need to try to get the ball in the gaps and get an extra base hit. They're just playing smarter, more into what they are. Like you kind of saw it back when they had Zobrist and had guys in that lineup that kind of broke that up. Like that's how those guys flourish, how the Baez and Bryants and Rizzo's really flourish when they get to do those things with the ball. And so I think that's really the thing that's changed.
I kind of wonder if it isn't semi-tied to how starting pitching has been going lately. We've had a lot of rough first couple of innings with certain pitchers, and so then the hitters come in, and not only are we completely banged up and not having the hitters in there that we want to have necessarily, then you've got guys coming in like, I got to save this game, get one back for my pitcher, and just seem to be pressing. This being the first Monday of the new MLB rule on substances being used to help with pitching grip and spin rate, do you think the Cubs are set up to have kind of more success around this because their starting rotation isn't a high spin rate guys? Do you think they're ahead of the ball? Do you think, or how much do you think this is going to have an impact on the Cubs?
Go ahead, Mitch.
I think the starting pitching, like if you look at our starting pitching, like let's be honest, like Davies, Hendricks, Arrieta, Alzolay, like Cole Stewart, Trevor Williams, all those guys, besides Alzolay, he's the only guy that can really spin it. And I don't think, and that's why I think they will succeed. And I don't think they're going to have any issues with this. And when you've kind of seen, Hadavi talk about this subject, they haven't really brought up that it was going to be a big issue, because I don't think those guys are using the substances that are really like spider tack and those type of things. Yeah, I think most pitchers are using the rosin and sweat or rosin and sunscreen to be able to generate a little bit of grip, but I think most of those guys, it's not going to affect them that much, because I think the Cubs are set up. Like, I think they're the one thing like the Cubs did this offseason was when everybody was zigging, they zagged. When it came to like everybody in baseball right now is about getting high spin rate and high velocity. And what do the Cubs do with their rotation? They're going the opposite direction.
They found a bunch of Al Harris's.
And so I think that's going to kind of play into like that. This is not going to affect them. Now our bullpen, that's one where it's like, our bullpen has some guys that likes to spin it. One, like Tommy Nance, he has one of the higher spin rates in all of baseball. I want to see how that affects him. I'm not saying that he's using anything. I'm not saying that at all, but it might. I don't know. And so I know the majority of guys across baseball are probably using something to be able to just get a better grip. So, but I do think the Cubs are set up more. What do you think, Jeff?
Yeah, I don't really think any of our pitchers are using spider tack. If you look at some of our starting pitching, like their ERA over the last few games, I mean, they're getting hit all over the place. Yeah, I don't think we're gonna have a lot of issues from the starters, but like you said, the bullpen, I mean, we got some guys that can chuck the shit out of it. So I don't know. But me, I'm kind of a fan of something to help the pitchers control the ball. I mean, just look at the picture of Pilar when he got beamed in the face. I mean, would you be more comfortable in the batter's box knowing that the pitcher was using something that would help him control the baseball, or that you might take one right to the teeth? I don't know.
Yeah, no, that's a good point.
I mean, like, I might not be so apt to dig in, that batter's box. I might want to bail out. Let's face it, pitchers have been using stuff forever. I mean, it's always been something that's just involved in they've used this, and then now they're cutting the top off a pop can, and they're mixing some pine tar with some other shit and cooking it and making this fucking shit. Throughout the years of baseball, pitchers have been using something for an advantage.
Yeah. And I don't know if you saw the Peter Mullen from the Atlanta Braves broadcast. He probably had the best explanation of this. I'm going to play a clip of him explaining what
Is
this
the clip where he explains where they take a new ball and they use the mud?
Yep.
I'm going to try and stay as calm as I can, and I want to just let everyone know that I am not an expert. I am not a scientist. I am just giving you my opinions and my experiences, okay? Now, let's talk about what this is. This is a baseball. This is a brand new, out-of-the-box, white baseball, okay? What it has, you're not going to be able to see it a little bit, but what it has is it has a little bit of shine on it. So what they do to get rid of the shine is they rub it with mud. Now, you'd think that's fine, right? But the problem is there is zero consistencies in the way they rub it up. They will either have a clubhouse kid rub it up one day, they'll have a different guy rub it up the next day. It could be rubbed up 2 days before the game, who knows? So by the time you get that baseball, the actual mud has lost any of its benefit because it's now just become a sandy, dusty, brand new baseball. Okay, so you use you use the sweat and rosin method. You rub a bit of sweat, you get some rosin, and you're supposed to take the tackiness, so you're supposed to get some tackiness. All that then does is rub the mud that they've put on the baseball off, and then you're stuck with this baseball. And you know, BJ, once you get a pearl in your hand, you cannot control that baseball. You can think that you're going to throw a sinker and it's going to cut. You can think you're going to throw a cutter and it's going to sink. So the issue that I've got is that Major League Baseball have taken away the one thing that we had that allowed us to grip the baseball. I'm not talking about get extra spin. I'm just talking about being able to grip the baseball, okay? My personal experiences. 2006, I come to the big leagues. I pitched from 2006 to 2010 with absolutely nothing, just sweat and just rosin, right? I then have a couple of years of injuries. I come back. 2013, I'm in spring training with the Dodgers, and I can't throw a breaking ball. I don't know why. I try everything. Everything I can, and I'm just thinking that it's the thin air in Arizona, right? Turns out I go to AAA, and I'm having the same issue. Someone introduces me to sunscreen and rosin, and all that did, it didn't allow me to spin the ball anymore or throw any harder. All that was allow me to go back to the pitcher that I was from 2006 to 2007, and the numbers prove it. My velocity didn't increase, my spin didn't increase, I was just the same guy that I was 5 years earlier, okay? Fast forward to now, and guys have taken it too far. I completely understand. They've introduced sticky substances that do not belong on baseballs, and it's turned a pitcher that would have had a 2,400 RPM curveball into someone who can throw a 3,000 RPM curveball, which has effectively turned you into a different pitcher. So you cannot do that, and I'm all for outlawing that sort of stuff. Now, right.
So, like, the way he explains it, it's like, yeah, pitchers do need a little bit of something, whether in the spider tech, yes, that I would say too far, taking substances that don't belong there. But like sunscreen, so you're going to outlaw sunscreen on professional baseball players that play out in the sun majority of the time, and rosin that like come on, that's been around for baseball for years. Like, I think we've just gone a little too far, and it's like there comes a point where, yes, as a batter, I want the pitcher to be able to grip the ball and control the ball. And I feel like his explanation was probably perfect. And then like Tyler Glass now comes out and gets hurt, and he blames it as a result of not being able to have something to grip the ball. And so his explanation was, okay, so here's a baseball. Like, typically he's gripping the ball pretty loose, and he's using spider tack on the ball or whatever it is to be able to grip the ball a little bit more. Well, now he has to really choke the baseball to be able to hang on to it, to be able to get control of the ball. And what that does is when you're gripping the ball tight, muscles in your forearm are being used, and that's putting a lot of stress on your elbow. And then in turn, that's going to, when you're throwing 100 miles an hour like Glasnow does, it's going to result in injuries. So I'd like to really, like, let's see the second half of this year in pitcher injuries. See if they go up. I would love to know those stats, because it's like, and the thing is, like, I don't like changing rules in the middle of a game. And that's basically what we're doing. It's like when you're playing your brother in Uno, or playing your brother in any, like, I remember playing my brother in Battleship, and like every single time, like, the game would just totally change. All the rules would change, or like all the time when you're playing with your brothers, like, the rules just change in the middle of the games. You're like, what the heck? That's how I feel like it is now. Like my brother's just changing all the rules, and so I can't win. And that's how the pitchers are feeling.
If Rob Manfred was my brother, I would not call him my brother. But
we'd be throwing fists.
Oh yeah, fisticuffs. But they need to get together and actually, if they're so concerned about a competitive advantage for pitchers using this substance, then they need to approve a substance that doesn't increase a bunch of spin rate and turn a one pitcher into something that he's really not, but yet he can control the ball and it reduces the injuries to pitchers' arms. I mean, I don't know. Strikeouts are fascist. I hate that shit. I want to see defense. I want to see people putting the ball in play. But what I don't want to see is people like go up there and look like little leaguers against their dads. You know what I mean?
Right.
But
I totally agree. I also think from a viewer's perspective, it's kind of funny. I don't know if you guys were watching a little bit ago when Shaw was coming off after he relieved Savelli. He came off, almost got to the dugout, forgot that he was supposed to stop, and he stopped and literally put his arms out, and just it totally looked like a hang on,
Put your hands up.
I got
Freeze.
to go down to my knees. Hang on,
Don,
just
paid for the beer, dude.
It was kind of one of those I was just caught it out of the corner of my eye. I'm like, oh yeah, they're supposed to get checked, and we haven't cut away to the commercials yet, so you watch that happen, which just seems funny. So
that ain't a strike.
So we're really close to having guys like Nico and Duffy back, who were playing quite a bit in the lineup when they weren't injured, and they really changed the dynamic of the team. With them returning, how do you guys see this lineup shaking out?
Man, I do like Jock leading off. I mean, having a speedster or a guy that takes a lot of pitches like Kenny Lofton back in the day, that's not anymore. That doesn't work. So having a guy that's a high strikeout, I'm all right with that. I can't, like, if you listen to Joe Kilgallen, he says this all the time. I'm all right with him striking out with no guys on base. What I don't want is a guy striking out when there's guys on base. So if he's the first out in the inning and he strikes out, who cares? Like, I'm okay with that. But Jock's done pretty well there. I would like to keep Bryant number 2, Baez, Rizzo, get Horner in like the 6th spot, Contreras 5, 6, somewhere around there. And then Duffy maybe play some third, move Bryant back out into outfield. Until Hayward proves that he can hit, he needs to ride the pine. Until Hap, and I love Hap. I think he's going to be great for this ball club in the future, but right now he is not hitting. He's not doing it. So he needs to be riding the pine and getting spot starts. He needs to be set up with, if there's a guy, a lefty or a righty that coming in that Hap has hit really well, like if a Wainwright comes up, Hap has hit Wainwright pretty well, he should get the start. But until then, those guys need to be riding the pine. Get Marisnik out there, move Bryant out into right. That's how I kind of see this lineup shaking out. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I don't really like how when some guy's scuffling or you're as injury riddled as we are, you're just throwing guys out there to fill out the lineup. There's nothing that pisses me off more than watching Hayward with a guy on base, 2 outs. You know he's going to hit it to the second baseman.
He's really good at pepper. He can pepper the ball to second base all day.
Fucking drives me nuts. I'm like, if you can hit the ball to second base, why can't you just wait a little bit longer, swing a little later, and put it in the gap between third and second, because they know there's a shift on you because they know where you're going to hit it. The sad part is I don't know who's, like, honestly, when Duffy and Horner come back, I would much rather see Wisdom stay in the lineup more often than Hayward, or even Ian, I mean, I love both those players. They've done a lot in the past, even though Jason Hayward batting average has been jack squat since he joined our club, and he's getting paid a whole shit ton of money to catch fly balls. Um, he's kind of been a leader in the clubhouse, but shit, dude, you're a professional. Put the ball in play.
I mean, he's a good guy. He's a
Yeah.
great guy.
That's what's hard. None of these guys are bad guys, but it's like
He does that. I mean,
He seems like
if
a
I
nice
were,
guy.
I mean, I would trust him to come over and watch my kids. I would trust him to come and house sit for me while I'm gone. But I do not trust him up to bat with runners in scoring position in 1 out.
absolutely.
It's double play all day.
Like, I do not trust him with guys on first and second in 1 out.
And you don't need a nanny cam to see that.
Nope. The inning is over. Like, he's going to roll over, double play, like, every time. So it's like,
If there's ever a time of the game when you know it's safe to go to the bathroom because you're not going to miss anything, it's that scenario right there.
That's what. There are so many
you're
times I
over
get
here.
up and walk away, and Hayward's up to bat, and I come back and the commercials are playing. I'm like,
yep.
It's just like the other day when we lost 11-1, and I was trying to figure out who to pick for the dinger. So in my head, I'm originally thinking, well, I could go with Ortega or Hayward, and fuck it, just give me Rizzo or whoever I picked. And the son of a bitch hit a goddamn dinger.
it was Hayward.
Yeah, it was fucking Hayward.
That's what's weird. Every so often, he just hits a dinger out of nowhere, and it's like,
Yep.
oh hey,
Where the
That's
hell
nice.
did that come from?
right? That's I don't know. I love Wisdom, and I'd love for him to stay and get more time with the big club. But I don't. I think what we're gonna end up with a problem is we're gonna end up with we need all of the versatility guys.
We do.
Like
We don't need 3 guys on the roster that can play third base. When one
Right,
of the
and
guys on the roster that plays third base can play in left field, he can play in right field, he can play in center, he can play over at first.
right.
And that's more valuable, even though he's only hit 137 this month.
And that's where I kind of wonder because I think Wisdom at AAA played some outfield a little bit.
A little bit, but he played mostly third.
Right, and that's where I looking through the roster really quick. Like, I'm pretty sure Alcantara and probably Ortega are gonna get ousted before anybody else. But
I know all of Cubs Twitter wants Sogard gone.
right, yeah, there's that one. I don't think he
Yeah.
goes though.
But he's batting fifth these days, so I don't know.
right. And
I'll tell you
honestly, if he comes out of the starting lineup and goes back to that pinch hitting role, I mean, you had the stats the other day, and he's really good at pinch hitting. Like,
He's batting like 328 as a pinch hitter.
Pinch hitting?
I'd rather
So
have
he's in
him
the
be
lineup.
there.
What's he hitting, like 96?
Yeah, he's batting like
.0
one.
96?
Yeah, he's pretty low.
What's
Right.
bizarre is I read an article one day about how he statistically is hurting the Cubs lineup because he is the worst hitter in Major League Baseball.
But if you look at I was digging into this because I was like, okay, he takes a lot of flack on
He
Twitter.
does.
But I was
So
like,
the-
if you look at him and Hap's batting average and OPS, they're about the same.
the same. Right.
And it's like Hap is like the golden boy because everybody likes him because they agree with him more politically or whatever, or they know
He's
Hap
on a funny
more.
podcast.
But they personally know him because they've heard him talk. Nobody knows Sogard, so they have no like personal connection to him.
right.
But they don't say a peep about Hap.
No.
And Hap's batted horrible for a while, and nobody said jack. It's like,
Yeah. I mean, he started the season shitty. He got hot. Then he ran into Horner in the outfield. Then he missed some time, came back. Hasn't been great. But yeah.
but
so
now,
ever since
now
I
don't
read
get
the
me wrong. Like, I'm not huge. Like, yeah, Sogard needs to be playing every day. No,
No.
Sogard does not. Sogard should not start. He should be a pinch hitter, if that. If Horner and Duffy
Defensive
come back,
substitution.
if Horner and Duffy come back and they DFA him, I won't feel bad.
Yeah, he gave it a shot.
He gave it a shot.
That's kind of what I see.
Let's just think
Speaking-
of that guy in the locker room of Bull Durham. I hit the ball hard today, Coach. I just Sooner or later, they're going to start dropping for me.
So, speaking of injuries, we've seen all across baseball tons of injuries that really are affecting the teams in the NL Central. The Cardinals have been bit, the Brewers have been bit, Pirates could injure themselves and it wouldn't really change anything. Who's the player thinking about injuries? Who's the player that the Cubs can't afford to lose right now from this lineup?
I'm going to say Willie. Honestly, because I just watched the game on Saturday where Lobaton got because P.J. Higgins is hurt and our guy that we signed to back up, Contreras, is hurt.
Yeah, Romine.
Yeah,
Which that will lead us into our next question of like Contreras. So we can just talk about Contreras because that works perfect. So
he's my guy too. Yep.
That was like the worst catching I've ever seen. But the shitty thing is you can't play Willie every day because he's gonna get run down. But to watch him steal 5 bases, and these guys aren't fast that were stealing bases. I think I can beat him in a foot race, and I'm slow. I'm terribly slow.
So, entering Saturday, Contreras led all the majors with innings caught at 483. The next closest guy is a Red Sox, Christian Vasquez, 466. The next closest National League guy was Yadier Molina and Jacob Stallings. They each were 407 innings. That's a difference of 76 innings. That's 8+ game gap. So Contreras has caught 8 more games, complete games, than any other catcher in baseball.
God, and he's got to feel like Jake Taylor's.
And so, that's it. The second half of the year, is his production gonna falter? That's a long season of catching games. That's wear and tear on those legs. And so it's and right now we look at I want to put this up of here's the guy's career right now. So these are career, not this season, but these are the averages. And you just look at even WAR. Wilson Contreras has a 1.5 career WAR. Lobaton, Romine, and Higgins have a career WAR of 0. They had nothing. No wins to this team.
Wow.
Nothing. So it's
good God.
This season, it's been remember when you're in high school? I don't know, if your parents had nice vehicles and you were stuck with a really crappy vehicle. I feel like it's like that. It's yeah, I'm driving this Geo Metro or this Ford Escort because you had to get a good gas car. That's what your parents usually buy for you. And you're yeah, this is nice. This is getting me around, but I would really like to drive my dad's truck because that thing is really nice. But I'm stuck with this crappy vehicle. And that's what we're basically at. It's we want to play and ride Contreras every day. Absolutely. But every once in a while, we're stuck having to play the Ford Escort and the Geo Metro because
Crown Vic station wagon.
Because we have nothing else. But we have nothing else. We're stuck having to drive those. And it's Ross is what do you want me to do? Do you want me to play Lobaton? No, I'm gonna play Contreras because it's really hard to not write his name in a lineup card every day.
Right.
I tell you what.
It's really hard for me not to grab my dad's keys and drive the truck to town because that would be real nice.
Right. I think we were spoiled for a couple years, having Caratini behind him. Do you know who the other catcher who's on the 40-man roster is?
Miguel Amaya.
Yeah, he is.
He's
real young.
That kid. Run him out there.
He can't. You know what? I hope at this point he can at least throw it to second base.
He can't be as bad as Kyle Schwarber behind the bomb. I mean, they turned him
a guy that's out there is Wilson Ramos. He was DFA'd by the Tigers, and he's pretty decent defensively and pretty decent offensively. He's not horrible. Yes.
Okay, so he was on the team when they won in 2019.
I believe so. So he would be a guy that I think he just got DFA'd because they brought up a really young guy. He'd be a guy that I would be interested in if the Cubs could go after him.
His batting stats aren't that bad over the years.
No. Keep catchers with the first name Wilson.
Yep.
Hey, you always know you got Willie in the lineup.
That's right. Say hey kids.
Yep. Yeah, I don't know.
Okay.
It's a thing of my nightmares almost, considering Wilson getting hurt.
Oh
But at the
God,
same time, I think we've seen over the last few years he gets run down as the season goes on.
he
He
does.
usually, does really
Uh,
well, ends up on the All-Star team, and then towards the end of the season, you're like, what happened?
was that
And
20? Was it 2017, 2018 when he was like the hottest player in baseball, like in the month of August, and then pulls that hamstring and misses significant time. When he came back, he just wasn't the same.
Yeah.
sounds right.
Yeah,
Mhm.
I remember that. I think he was hitting dingers everywhere, throwing guys out. Nobody was stealing on him. He tried to leg out a single. My hamstring.
Yeah, that's what I was
Yikes.
like when Wilson hit that double today earlier, and he was legging it out to second. Like I put it on Twitter, it's like, does everybody like cringe a little bit and get a little scared when Contreras like turns it on the base paths? Every single time he puts his foot down and really goes, and you're like, please don't get hurt, please don't get hurt, please don't get hurt, because if he goes down, we're screwed.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or just hits a rogue pebble and steps wrong and twists an ankle. Ugh.
Yeah. So, who knew it? We would, continue talking about injuries. What do you guys think of Justin Steele coming back into the bullpen? What's going to move there to bring him in? What do you think?
He did throw off the mound, I think, yesterday or today, so that's a huge plus. Um, I don't know who's going to be sent down. It's probably going to be whoever they have in that like sliding back between Iowa and if it's Week or Wick or Stewart or Abbott or one of those guys, they're probably going to be the odd man out. I'm excited to get Justin Steele back. I think we need him in that bullpen as another lefty, another dominant. And I mean, if we're ahead after 7 right now, we win. That just adds one more inning that we can add to that of like, if we just get to 6 being ahead, we will win.
Right.
And so that's the thing right now is like, we're just shortening the game.
Yeah.
And we've talked about how bad our starting pitching is. Shortening the game is all the better right now because our rotation blows.
Oh. God, it's got awful. It's just. It's like throwing gas on a fire.
Yeah. Kind of gonna jump around a little bit. Let's see. Alrighty. We had a question from Jake. He's been on the podcast a couple of times. Great guy. He was asking. He was talking to his grandpa and his uncle last night about this, and he's looking for our take. If the Cubs choose to stay both competitive by trading for a starter and add prospects at the deadline by dealing Kimbrel, would you trust Tepera to take over as the closer?
Yeah, I was talking to him a little bit on Twitter about this. That like, yes and no. Like, I love the way we're set up right now. I think all the pitchers know their roles really well and are performing in their roles perfectly. And if you move that, you don't know how they're going to perform when their roles change. When you take Tepera, who's been a great 8th inning guy, and you move him into a closer role, there's different pressures. There's different stresses that happen, and I don't know how he would perform. We just don't know. Do I think he could do it? Yes. Do I think Tommy Nance, who I brought up to him as like, hey, I think Nance could do also really well in the closer role. He has stuff that could be a really good closer. But I like the way we're set up now, and I don't know how much we would get for Kimbrel and if it'd be worth it. So I get it. We could probably get something for him. Usually bullpen guys are people are more willing to spend for a good bullpen arm in a playoff race than for a position player. And so I think maybe you could get something for Kimbrel. I don't know. I think that's where you're going to have to just trust Jed. He's going to be on the phones trying to make the best deal that will help us now, but also help us in the future.
Yeah, well, I'd like to start by saying I think this is a crazy idea by giving up Kimbrel, especially as well. He's playing, but yeah, you got to give up somebody And Mitch is right. You never know how somebody's going to perform when they go into a higher leverage situation. I know when we picked up Chapman in 16 and sent Rondon to the 8th inning, he kind of scuffled for a little bit, like he was kind of screwing shit up in the 8th inning, and was making the 9th inning a higher leverage situation. So you never know. And I don't honestly. I think we picked up like one starting pitcher and kind of trusted, some of our younger guys. Maybe start, giving like Arrieta an extra day off between pitches and throwing like Cole Stewart in there or Keegan Thompson. Somebody.
Yeah. Speaking of making trades, did you read Paul Sullivan's article today for the Chicago Sun-Times?
I didn't. Oh, is this the thing about trading one of the guys that we want?
One or more of the core three that he thinks that now is the time that they need to be trading one of them. My thing is, can we trade reporters? Can we say? Can we hey, we don't need this guy. I mean, Twins, do you need him? I mean, we'll take some popcorn and a case of beer. Do you want Paul Sullivan? Because this guy is a jokester over here making jokes about. I don't get it. Like we're in first place, Paul Sullivan, first place. Who tries to make a trade when you're in first place to one of your core guys that will?
Yeah,
that's just ridiculous. Like, I don't understand. I realize reporters have a job, and their job is to report the news. I said report the news, not make shit up. It's just like, do they wake up like brushing their teeth and like, who am I going to screw with today?
Okay, real quick. Hayward hit a double past the second baseman.
That's all he's got to do. He's just got to hit it harder.
Right.
He's just got to hit it harder.
Yep.
Well, can we see an instant replay? Because, here it is.
Yeah.
They got to be shitting me.
Yeah, it squeaks through.
Hey.
It squeaks through. And Rizzo makes it to third. But, sorry, I just watched that and I was like, wait, no way. Oh, this is going to be a double play. Wait, what?
Well,
speaking on, let's speak on a little bit of tonight's game because it did happen earlier in the game. And I don't know if you were watching earlier. Javi Baez, there was one out. Javi was on first. Rizzo hit a fly ball to the outfield, and Javi just ran because he thought there were two outs. He got doubled off. And Ross came, talked to him, pulled him from the game.
I say that's the best thing you can do in a situation like that. Because Javi's made comments previous years that they weren't like mentally ready to play, like all the base running areas we were having in previous seasons. Like, if you're one of the leaders on the team and quote unquote one of the core three, pull your head out of your ass and pay attention to what's going on. How do you not know? What are you? At least it wasn't Marlon Byrne and chucked it into the crowd.
My thing with this is, yes, Javi messed up. Should he have been taken out of the game? Yes, I believe that was the right thing to do in that situation. Ross needs to lead, and at that point, he can no longer be his friend. He needs to be his dad, and he needs to do the dad thing and be hard and disciplined. And pulling him is the right decision. I would also say in that situation, some of that lays on the first base coach. That fault, the first base coach's job there is to tell them the situation, remind them of how many outs there are, to go over what is going on in the game. That's the first base coach's job.
And also to tell the batter to wait for a good pitch.
So it's like,
wait for a good pitch.
It is Javi's fault, yes, and she should have been pulled from the game. But Ross should also have some conversations. I don't remember who is it. Driver maybe is the first base coach. I can't remember who the first base coach is for the Cubs. I know Harris is the third base coach
because he goes to the ground.
But it's like Javi needs to hey, you're in first place. Let's lock in. I know we've been struggling lately. Be the leader that we need and show the rest of these young guys like Alcantara, who's still trying to figure it out, how we play up here. That's not how we play. That's not the Cubs way. and Ross did the right thing and pulled him. And I don't think it looked like Javi wasn't too happy about it, but he shouldn't be. And I remember last year, Ross took an issue with the way Schwarber was running out ground balls or running out a fly ball and pulled him. And you saw Schwarber responded in the right way. Javi's going to be better for this. And hopefully tomorrow he goes 3 for 4 with a couple dingers. So if Javi's in the lineup, I'm picking him for my dinger pick. So where are we with our dinger picks?
Shut up, you bastards.
Somebody's still so close to double digits. So close.
So Kevin is at 18. I'm at 17 with the 2 dingers from Jock the other night. He jumped ahead of me. And then Jeff is at 8.
I got 9.
9. Jeff's at 9. So
we're going to start counting any RBIs and guys that I get.
No.
As the season gets longer, it's going to be walks, hits by pitch, whatever.
Yeah.
All of those. Did the guy get on base? If you didn't have him, I get a point.
That's right. The other night I don't know who hit the dinger, but I didn't pick him, but I told Mitch he screwed up the spelling of my dinger pick. He misspelled it.
You misspelled,
right.
was it like Bryant for
Brian or something? No, you misspelled that.
Well, let's quick look ahead. We have the 2 games set with Cleveland right now. Game 1 is going on right now. Game 2 tomorrow. And then we are off to LA and then back to Milwaukee. So that's how we end, which the end series versus Milwaukee is going to be huge. Hopefully we go out to LA. I guarantee we will face Walker Buehler, Trevor Bauer in that series. So again, just don't lose series. Win the series. That's what we were doing before. Just win the series and move forward. Right now we're taking 1 out of 2 and record showing it. So hopefully we get back to our winning ways. And then if you do look into July, Cincinnati, Philadelphia, we have Arizona twice. Nice. We have Cincinnati twice. We have Washington. We have St. Louis twice. So we get kind of the schedule that the Brewers have faced for the last month. And so hopefully we make a big run in July, especially after the All-Star break. That's when we typically Cubs teams lately in the last 10 years has really kind of separated themselves right after the All-Star break. And so hopefully that happens. All-Star game is July 13th. And that kind of leads its way into updating where we are with our All-Star ballots. So if you haven't gone on and done your All-Star ballots, Wilson Contreras is in 3rd at catcher. Nico's in 4th and has only played like 3 weeks of baseball. Javi Baez is in 2nd at shortstop, so he would be making it. Chris Bryant is in 1st. Anthony Rizzo is in 3rd, so we'd have 1, 2, 3, 4 All-Stars right now. Nope, 5. Jack Peterson is 10. Jason Hayward's 13. Ian Happ's 14. They take the top 9 outfielders. So let's get out there and vote. You can vote 5 times a day for these players. So get them in the All-Star game. We want to see some Cubbies in the All-Star game, which probably Kimbrel will make it and the pitching staff. And I'm just saying, Kyle Hendricks is making a push lately for starting position because he's been killing it the last 2 months. So, you guys have anything else? I mean, we covered a lot of bases. It sucks when we are struggling, and it's really hard to talk about those games when we lose. When we lose 3 out of 4 to New York, and when we only win 1 game out of the set from the Marlins. I hate the Marlins.
Right?
Stinking Marlins. Like, since 2003, like, I've hated them. And, like, who still calls them the Florida Marlins? I still call them the Florida Marlins a lot.
Yeah, I do.
Miami Marlins. Get out of here with that.
I have one thing real quick. How do you pronounce, is it Brad Wick?
Wick.
He had 3 Ks tonight in his inning of work.
Good work.
Yeah, that's great.
He's decent. Yeah, I just hate Miami Marlins. Get them out of here. I don't want to see them anymore. And so
we're being honest. I hate Florida in general.
I don't mind Florida. Florida's nice.
Every weird news story comes from Florida.
It's true. Wasn't the guy who was on bath salts and like potential
Yes.
zombie or whatever was in Florida? Yeah,
Yes.
there's a lot of weird news stories that come from Florida. Sorry for any Florida listeners. We totally hate on your state.
There's a lot of
for some reason.
scary things in Florida. Alligators, they have a lot of things to deal with. A lot of stresses. Maybe.
It's true. Mosquitoes the
People
size
let
of
exotic snakes go in
Yeah.
alligators in your backyard pool.
your bowl. Somebody's pet python they let go. This has got gigantic hues that ate your dog. Whatever.
Yeah, Ethan.
Hi, Ethan. Oh yeah, Ethan goes on vacation to Florida, and he owns snakes.
All right. Well, that does it for episode 46 of the Dingers podcast. Thanks for listening. Go follow us on Twitter at Dinger Cubs. Join our Facebook group, Dinger Cubs. And yeah, thanks for joining us this week on the Dinger podcast.